How to make an infused herb oil with fresh rosemary. Now, when using fresh herbs, the herbs are chopped and covered with oil and then simmered to remove all the moisture and extract the properties of the oil of the herbs. Now, supplies you're going to need a double boiler. You need a strainer. Now, I prefer the reusable coffee filters. Now, traditionally, cheesecloth or muslin bags were used. Now you need a jar and a funnel that fits it, which if you're using a canning jar, you got the funnels right there in the canning department. And an optional would be best to store it in a dark colored bottle. Now you need spoons for stirring, lots of paper towels, and you need an additional towel to dry the bottom of your pan with. Okay, now for ingredients, of course we need our fresh herbs, olive oil or your oil of choice. I'm using olive oil extra virgin cold pressed. You need vitamin E, 500 IUs per 8 ounces of oil. Now I'm using fresh rosemary because it's January and there's not many fresh herbs to choose from here in Texas. And see, it's blooming. Herbs usually have their most energy when they're just starting to bloom or when they are in bloom. I picked them earlier and dry wilted them. You want to remove as much moisture from the herbs as you can. And I'm stripping them from the stems. I've already got the water going in my double boiler. It started boiling, so now I'm going to turn it to low. Now I'm going to chop my herbs up. You want to get them probably as fine as you can. Now if these were the leafy type herbs, you could even take the herbs and oil and put them in a blender. But rosemary or any of your needle type herbs like your evergreen trees, they just do not do well in a blender. I want to get them chopped up pretty small. Put them in my pan. Now I'm just going to cover them with olive oil. Need to kind of stir that up and see how much more I need to add. The finer you chop your herbs, the better extractive properties you're going to get. Okay, now it's just a matter of me letting this simmer on low heat for 2-3 hours. I want to simmer them until the herbs are kind of looking dry and crispy. Now rosemary doesn't really appear dry and crispy as the leafy type herbs would. But you can see how these are my finish, and you can tell they're just not crispy like the leafy type herbs would be. Okay, we're going to let this cook for 2 or 3 hours and then we'll come back. Okay, now you're going to remove your herbs from your source of heat. You're going to place it on I can just place it on this towel to dry off the bottom of the pan. I don't want any moisture whatsoever dripping into my oil. If it's really hot, I might let it cool for 5 to 10 minutes because on these reusable coffee filters, if they're boiling hot, they'll melt them. Now, if you're using cheesecloth or muslin, you might not have to wait because the warmer the oil is, the better it's going to strain. You might have to just kind of lift it up like that. Now you can probably let it strain for probably an hour and let it just drip out. And then when you get through letting it drain, you're going to add your vitamin E. In this case, it's somewhere around 8 ounces, so I'm going to add a teaspoon of vitamin E. Stir that in there. And then I'm going to take it and put it in a dark colored bottle. Now this bottle, I've marked it fresh rosemary. I want to know that I started with fresh rosemary, not dried rosemary, olive oil, and today's date. Okay, that's just now I don't want to cap this. I want to wait until this is absolutely 100% cool to prevent any kind of condensation creating any kind of oil. Okay, herbalist. Now you should be ready to try out to make some fresh herbal oil. Thank you. Now when I first started making herb infused oils in the 80s, all the directions were to gently simmer it until the herbs were crispy. Then herbalists started coming up with new rules. First it was to keep the temperature under 200 degrees. Around 160 to 180 was okay. Then they invented new rules. Became keep the temperature around 100 to 115. Now you cannot simmer anything at that low of a temperature. The only possible way to keep that low of a temperature would be a crock pot or a yogurt maker and to cook it all night long. Now next I will show you making my famous magic water comfort oil in a crock pot using the older method where you kept it around 160 and 180 because I found that works really well with fresh comfort. And you might be an herbalist if you make fresh rosemary infused oil. Like, subscribe, and share. And don't miss any of these lessons on making your own natural skincare.